Hi there. Hi, I'm Alex from the Human Villages Cultural Association. Today, I would like to talk to you about a mysterious feeling which was once very well known as boredom, but which in our days has been almost forgotten. Boredom is created when you have more time than you need, when you have empty space of time which you are not able to fill with activity. How many of you can tell me that you experience boredom very often? I think in our days, most of the people always complain mostly about having too little time and not about having too much time. So this may be because we are not kids anymore, we are responsible for like a lot of things. Of course, we can maybe all remember that as kids it was a big problem for us that we were getting bored, and we were like really afraid of getting bored, and we were then trying to find solutions, and it was like one of the worst feelings that we could experience. And now this feelings is almost this feeling has almost disappeared. And I think it's not only because we are adults and we are in charge of so many things. It's also because our modern lifestyle is filling our daily life with an infinity of duties which in older times were not necessary. One very important element why boredom has disappeared is, of course, technology. I mean, anytime you are in risk to get bored, you have now your cell phone and you can check your messages, you can scroll down on social media, so you can fill any gap, any gap. But even if you don't stay a lot looking at your cell phone, we have filled our daily life with so many things that in older times we were giving to other people. Like there was more sharing of duties. There were a lot of professions which are disappearing because due to the new technology, due to the internet, everybody can, of course, do many things that in older times were impossible to do if you were not a professional. The question is, how much time do I spend for it, and which is the result? Like a very easy example would be a travel agency, which in older times you would go there, you would say, I want to travel there, I want to stay in that hotel, and after 10, 20 minutes, the professional in front of you would find all the solutions, would do all the bookings, and you would just pay and go. And you had even someone responsible for the bookings and someone you could call later and complain if something went wrong. While now, we all have become our own travel agents, and we all Google all the locations, and then we compare prices on various sites, Expedia, Booking.com, and others, and then we do our own booking. And if something goes wrong, we have really not many possibilities to complain. But it's cheaper, and we think it's easier like that. But if you consider how many hours you spend just to book a plane, it can like take you half of your day. because you have to check all the various possibilities, because the first time you travel in that place, then you compare the prices, and while you're searching, the prices go higher because the algorithm has understood that you're interested, and after half an hour it's 20 euros more expensive. So you get disappointed, and then you look for another flight. So you can, and then you want to register your credit card, and then it's not working, and then you use another credit card, and then the confirmation comes, and in the moment of the confirmation maybe the Wi-Fi is not working, and then all what you have done in the last 45 minutes is lost again. And this is just one very small example. Just think about all the bills that you have to pay. Just think about all the subscriptions you have to think about. Am I still subscribed to that service, to that service, to that service? All the times you get emails, check your payment details, please, because maybe your credit card has expired. You're spending an infinite amount of time just serving something that should serve you. Another field which takes an incredible amount of time is food. Like, you have, of course, the option to eat all the time fast food or frozen food in the microwave, or to order from outside a pizza. But if you want really quality food, you have to cook. But in modern life, usually the families are small. Maybe you live alone. And is it really worth to cook for one person or for two people? Just think about all the fuss. It's crazy. Maybe if you really count everything, shopping, cooking, serving, and dishwashing, you spend 3-4 hours of your day for a meal that you eat in 15 minutes. So how reasonable is it that every small household cooks for himself? Another example could be garden work. If you live in the countryside, yes, it's nice to look at the flowers, to cut some roses, to put some flowers in the vases on your table. But the garden is not waiting for you to grow. It's growing all the time, so it needs continuous maintenance. And if you are a person who is like working, if you have a serious job, maybe you don't have time all the time to care for your garden, and then or your garden is a mess, or you have to spend all your remaining time of the day for the garden if you're not cooking, and if you're not paying the bills, and if you're not fixing some application which has expired, or you have to upload again the new version of Adobe Reader. So in the end, in our days, the moments of boredom have become really seldom, and it's not only because we are adults and not kids anymore. It is because of our lifestyle, because everybody lives in very small units, and because of the extensive use of a technology which is supposed to facilitate our lives, and it does facilitate our lives, but at the same time it takes an incredible amount of our precious daily life away, and it steals us these famous moments of boredom, which in the end are nothing else than the preliminary phase of creativity. Because if you are a person experienced in creativity, you know that boredom is like the starting point for creativity. That's why creative people all the time go into boring places where they are alone, where it's really boring because there's nobody to talk to. They sit in front of the seaside, which is really boring because it's all the time the same waves, the same waves. Or they look at the river, which is incredibly boring because nothing happens. The water running down. Or they look at the stars, which is unbelievably boring because they are just small spots of light, nothing happens. Sometimes there's like a falling star. You say, oh wow, I saw a falling star. But in the end, it's pretty boring if you're alone. I would say after 15 or 20 minutes, you will get really, really, really bored. So why do artists and creative people always try to position themselves in boring places? Because out of this emptiness, away from this hectic daily activity, that's the moment where you can develop something new. That's the emptiness which suddenly can get filled by an inspiration which will make you think about something new, something innovative in your life, something you want to do, some new project, something you want to improve in your own life, some artistic idea, some inspiration which can be also of a social matter. Oh, maybe I should call that person that I haven't called for 10 years. So we actually are very dependent on having sometimes more time than we need. Excessive time is really important to be a complete human and not just a slave serving all the time our need of survival. That's why here in our cultural association, the Human Villages Association, where we think about how a really human life should be, we have come to the conclusion that in a society which should be an improvement compared to all the existing forms of society, it is very important to do certain works in a community. So in our point of view, community life is not about sharing everything. We don't want to live all in one house, sharing the same beds and cooking every day together in the same kitchen. Things should be separate. We all need our privacy. We need our space. Most of the people are not very keen on sharing all day long their lives with too many other people. So, or we like to stay alone, or we like to stay with our family. But what we need is more collaboration with other like-minded people. And this collaboration should have a meaning, and the first meaning is to become more efficient. So some things should be done as a community, because if you try to do everything on your own, it's not efficient. So for example, if you like to eat a quality food and you like to cook, why don't you cook for the entire community? You will tell me, maybe because I don't have time every day. I'm not a cook. I have another profession. I'm not a restaurant owner. Okay, so in a small community where, like, I don't know, 30, 40 people live together, why don't we have a restaurant where there is a cook, there is a professional cook, but each of the inhabitants that wakes up in the morning and says, today I have a free day and I would like to cook something, why don't you just communicate with the cook and tell him, today, George, I come and I want to cook with you. Let's add this dish to the menu, and the cook will say yes, it matches or it doesn't match. And then you go in the kitchen, which will be much better than the kitchen that you have at home. It will be a professional kitchen, and you will cook together with the cook, and you can express your creativity in cooking, but you will not cook for 3 people, but you will cook for 20 people, for 30 people. Of course, you will have an assistant. You don't have to cut the potatoes for 30 people. This is one thing, like this habit, which especially in Europe is really big, that everybody cooks at home. I think it's an unbelievable waste of time. Although it's a hobby, it's fun, but it is not efficient, and I think we should reduce it to the minimum. Another thing is what I already mentioned, is all this back office, not in your business, but in your private life. You have an incredible amount of office work, just being a normal person. All the bills, all the bureaucracy, whatever. It takes so many hours of your day that I think if there's a small community, there should be something like a common accountant office which does all these things for the inhabitants, like rich people do. Like every wealthy person has someone to take care of his paperwork, a secretary, or however you want to call it. So I think we should not wait to become rich, but we should do this thing like a cooperative society, and we should give all our paperwork to that office, which can operate within our human village, and they can also work on a professional level and be accountants for other companies, other private people, but they should also do all our bureaucratic burden. Another thing what I mentioned is garden work. I mean, it's nice to live in the countryside, it's nice to cut your grass, but the grass wants to be cut also when you are not willing, or when you are sick, or when you are too busy with the other things you have to do in life. So I think in every village there must be one or more gardeners who do the garden work, and every inhabitant of the village should help the gardener but if he wants to do something, he must do it in accordance with the professional who is responsible. So you have the nice part of living in nature without the slavery of being responsible for a huge piece of garden. I call it slavery not because the gardener is a slave, because to be a gardener is a very satisfying and beautiful profession. But if your profession is not being a gardener, then it gets like a feeling of slavery, because it's something you actually don't want to do, but you have to do. And there's one more point I think is really important, which we should always share in a community. This is what everything which has to do with cleaning and laundry. There must be a small company which does cleaning services and laundry services, and we should stop doing all this crazy laundry in our own homes and give the laundry to the laundry service. And all this can be then be much more efficient like this. And in the end, because it will be a cooperative society, it will be even cheaper than if everybody does everything on his own. Because if you observe also in the rest of our industrialized world, to do something on your own is not always the cheapest solution. It just seems to be cheap, but actually it's much more efficient of doing things on a bigger scale for many people and not just one by one. So I think we should really be careful in any community which would like to offer a more human life, to start doing things together and saving a lot of time and money. And as a result, we will suddenly discover again that strange feeling of boredom. But I think as mature individuals and not small kids anymore, I think we will and we should be able to use the boredom for a much better scope than just watching TV all day or eating too much chocolate. Because I think that in a human village there should be so many interesting things to do all the time that the boredom will not last very long. Thanks for your attention and see you the next time.